the year end of that year.
The guide is titled Frequently Asked Questions About RMDs, and the way to request it is by calling 800-393-4001. Again, the guide is titled Frequently Asked Questions About RMDs, and that phone number to request it is 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
We are the Debt Destroyer Network. Any debt you have, credit card, tax, student loan debt, call now for free information that helps you destroy your debt. It's great advice. Plus, when you make this free call now, we have debt destroyer experts ready to help. They can show you how to destroy your debt and get your life back on track. Debt problems don't have to be overwhelming. You can live stress-free and debt-free. Credit cards, medical bills, IRS tax problems, even student loan debt. Learn about free programs offered by the credit card companies, hospitals, and even the government that can help slash your debt. Call the Debt Destroyer now for free information. Call now. 800-430-8804. 800-430-8804. 800-430-8804. Again, that's 800-430-8804.
This Veterans Day weekend, help honor all who have served this country. Join us on Saturday, November 9th for the 9th Annual Disabled American Veterans 5K Boston. It's a run and walk to support the DAV Department of Massachusetts. Register now at dav5k.boston.
For 40 years, Cancer Support Community has been a relentless ally for anyone impacted by cancer, with free services provided online and in person, with their newest location in Massachusetts. Connect with Cancer Support Community Massachusetts for free emotional support, educational resources, patient navigation, financial counseling, and more. 617-797-3391. CancerSupportMass.org. CancerSupportMass.org.
The Financial Exchange is produced by Money Matters Radio and is hosted by employees of the Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. All opinions expressed are solely those of the hosts, do not reflect the opinions of Armstrong Advisory or anyone else. Investments can lose money. This program does not offer any specific financial or investment advice. Please consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong Advisory and the advertisers heard on this program do not endorse each other or their services. Armstrong and Money Matters Radio do not compensate each other for referrals and are not affiliated. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Mike Armstrong. Your exclusive look at business and financial news affecting your day, your city, your world. Stay informed and up to date about economic and market trends, plus breaking business news every day. The Financial Exchange is a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. Help us support our great American heroes by visiting dav5k.boston and making a donation today. The DAV 5K Boston is presented by Veterans Development Corporation. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Mike Armstrong.
It's Chuck, Mike, and Tucker here with you on the final day of September 2024. And as we sit here today, Mike, in what is historically the worst month on record for the stock market based on historical seasonal patterns, the S&P 500 is still up significantly for the month, a couple percentage points, and thus, again, I know we haven't closed yet. I know there's still a little bit of time.
Yep, we could sell off by 10% today, but it sure doesn't look like it.
We could, look, all it would take in order for us to get, a down month would be, a 3% sell-off, which is still 180 points almost on the S&P 500 and would be, a rather large late-day move. But to this point, it looks to be, increasingly likely that the S&P is going to finish in positive territory despite the outcry on September 9th that, hey, it's just another down September for the S&P 500, and gosh, we just better get used to it.
And what do you think about all that, Tucker?
Did I introduce Ben as Tucker?
Yeah, you did. That's all right. Well, actually, I don't know if it's all right.
Hey, Chuck.
It's fine. It's totally good.
That wasn't a very good Tucker impression, by the way. You need to work on that. You listen to him for like 2 hours every day. You got to get his voice down at this stage.
How would you do a Tucker impression?
I don't do impressions.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that. In any case, so we've got a market that has continued to move to all-time highs, and naturally, all-time highs make people nervous because it feels like you have further to fall, which is kind of true, but ultimately, like at any point, you can lose 100%, so it's not really that you have further to fall. You can always lose 100% of your money in the stock market.
Yeah, I would say the all-time high piece is a little bit less relevant in a lot of people's views compared to the different metrics you can use to measure the priciness of the stock market. You know, we hit new all-time highs, probably in the majority of years. So, you know, the all-time high is less relevant to me than how those stock prices compare to the earnings that they generate and what that might mean for future.
And look, this is a market that is priced steeply right now. According to FactSet's Earnings Insight, the forward 12-month PE ratio, meaning the ratio of current prices to the next 12 months of earnings of the S&P 500,
which are just guesses,
is 21.6. And by the way, this is what I'm going to say is going to sound weird. This is an expensive 21.6 times forward earnings. And what I mean by that is over the next 3 quarters that we have projections for, really 4 quarters. Q3 earnings are projected to be growing at 4.6% annually. Q4, 14.9. Q1 of next year, 14.5. Q2 of next year, 13.6. So you got, like almost in calendar year 2025, projections are for 15.1% earnings growth. So what I'm saying on this is that the earnings growth that's priced in is robust as well.
Yeah.
If you had 21.6x, future earning, forward earnings, and forward earnings growth is 3%, you can make a case that that's a cheaper, multiple than what you're sticking on here.
Less to overcome.
There's more that has to go right in order to fill that value, this valuation, than that one. So stocks are priced expensively, and what this does mean is that, hey, if something does go wrong, recession, rebound in inflation, war in the Middle East that, evolves over time, there is further for the market to potentially dip there because things are priced more sharply. What valuations don't do in any way, shape, or form is tell you when the market is going to dip. And this is an important thing that you have to remember. Just because a stock or an index is expensive doesn't mean that it's going to fall apart imminently.
How long, do you know, Chuck, or can you look up how long forward PEs have been over 20 on the S&P 500 during this cycle? Because I think it's been over a year now, right?
We've had a couple brief dips below. I'll have to see where I can pull that data from.
Yeah, I didn't have any way of actually figuring out what the answer to that is.
Hang on, I know a source that I can use. Just keep talking.
To the point that Chuck is making, we've been at an elevated price on the stock market for some time now, and we're less elevated now than we were in 2021, and in neither of those cases did you have a compelling long-term devaluation of the stock market. And so these things can tell you where it may be useful is to come up and say, yeah, I mean, based on the fact that we're at such a high starting point with the markets at all-time highs plus price-to-earnings ratios, when you look out over the next decade, it's tougher for me to find a reason why markets would perform as well as the last decade, but gives me nothing in terms of, and this is when it's all going to come tumbling down.
I got some data for you.
Okay.
So the S&P 500, aside from a brief period earlier this year, has been over a 20x forward PE, really since like the end of January of this year. So, almost 9 months. Prior to that, it spent most of 2020 through 2021 over that valuation, so almost a full 2 years. And the last time prior to that you were over that was during the tech bubble, where at one point we were north of like 26x forward earnings. But we were over, and again, the data I have here only goes back to 1999, but the S&P 500's forward PE was over 20 for pretty much all of 99, 2000, 2001, and a brief period in 2002 as well. despite the index falling during that time. So again, it's not something where you just say, well, stocks are expensive, they have to fall. It's no, stocks are expensive, and if they do fall, it could be a little bit worse, but it's not that they have to fall now. And the other thing that you have to remember, stocks can correct two different ways. I know we hear the term stock correction, and we're like, oh, well, that means, a 10% decline in a security or an index or whatever. But stocks can also correct through time. And I know that sounds like, whoa, like stocks are correcting through time, man. How do they do that? The answer is, hey, they might just not go anywhere. You might have a 21 multiple on, the S&P 500 now. And yeah, one way that could resolve is by the S&P going back down to 4,500. The other way it could resolve is, hey, earnings could continue to grow, but we could grow increasingly pessimistic about future earnings growth. And so the S&P just stays, between 6,000 and 5,500 for the next year, and stocks become cheaper through that. So it's very much possible too. Or they might go up. Like, just because something's expensive doesn't mean it can't get more expensive. Remember that too.
So our friend Paul LaMonica writes today, here's what could kill the rally. And the answer seems to be something that shifts the sentiment about the state of things.
I mean, ultimately, what kills all rallies at some point is either growth or inflation. Growth going down or inflation going up. That is the death of rallies. We haven't seen any of those problems this year. The latest revision that we got on Q2 GDP, up, higher.
Yep.
3%. Have you looked at GDP Now recently, the Atlanta Fed's?
I have not.
I have, and let me tell you, it looks wonderful. I'm not saying this will or won't happen. The September 27th update, last Friday's update for GDP Now, 3.1%. Ooh, it's cooking. It's hot. Ooh, steamy.
So the risk that I think Paul speaks to here
is that slows down at some point.
What I would agree to is, that slows down at some point. And the fact of the matter is that you never know what exactly a market is pricing in. But does this read to you like a market that is immensely concerned about looming recession?
No.
Does it look like a market to you that's worried that the Fed is going to have to pause their rate-cutting cycle because inflation rebounds?
No. I also don't think that should be a concern.
I don't think so either. But any change to the narrative here, any shift to the narrative about what's going to happen here in terms of growth and people's feelings towards it would be enough to kill the rally.
Yes. That's kind of where we are. Let's take a quick break right now. I want to talk a little bit about what's going on in the Carolinas right now after Hurricane Helene went through there. I know we have some other market stuff to talk about, but
let's start there.
The Helene stuff matters and is quite honestly much more important than what's going on with everything other than AI in markets. So let's go to that, and we'll talk about that when we return.
Breaking business and financial news first throughout the day. Only here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
If you're approaching or have recently reached the age of 73, required minimum distributions should be a key consideration as you evaluate your retirement strategy. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group. There are several factors to think about when it comes to RMDs, including the types of accounts that require RMDs, when to take your withdrawals, how your RMD is calculated, and the penalty for missing all or part of an RMD. That's what our new guide this month is all about. It's called Frequently Asked Questions About Required Minimum Distributions, and you can get your copy today by calling 800-393-4001. RMDs are a key part of your retirement strategy, so don't delay. Get your guide today by calling 800-393-4001. That number one more time, 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. Summer is coming to an end, so it's time to take out your planner and book a spectacular vacation in the U.S. Virgin Islands, America's Caribbean paradise. St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John are three of the most incredible islands anywhere in the Caribbean, and their popularity is at an all-time high. Go to visitusvi.com and check out the American Caribbean, where you'll find all the information you need to book a trip that you'll never forget. If you act fast, you can still celebrate New Year's on St. Croix and enjoy the St. Croix Crucian Festival from December 26th through January 4th. Enjoy world-class cuisine, pristine beaches, a wide variety of water sports, and some of the greatest musical acts the islands have to offer. Travel to and from New England is simple, and your stay will be hassle-free because this is the American Caribbean. There's no passport needed and no money to exchange. Fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands on your trip to America's Caribbean paradise. Go to visitusvi.com and make your plans today. That's visitusvi.com.
Last year, we introduced you to Mark Vaughter, CEO of Veterans Development Corporation. Mark is a career military man, and we're proud to have him back as the presenting sponsor of the 2024 DAV 5K Boston.
I'm a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans, Department of Massachusetts. The DAV does incredible work, and it was one of the first organizations I became familiar with after my military service ended in 1984. As I built my company, Veterans Development Corporation, I did it knowing that I'd be giving back to fellow vets who need jobs, support services, medical supplies, and much more. I work with disabled veterans every day and is one of the key reasons why I'm such a big supporter of Dan Stack and the Disabled American Veterans, Department of Massachusetts, in this year's DAV 5K Boston. Please join me in supporting this tremendous cause by taking part in this year's event or by making a donation to the DAV.
Veterans Development Corporation is proud to be the presenting sponsor of this year's DAV 5K, taking place on Saturday, November 9th at Fort Independence in South Boston. To register for this year's race, visit dav5k.boston.
We are the Debt Destroyer Network. Any debt you have, credit card, tax, student loan debt, call now for free information that helps you destroy your debt. It's great advice. Plus, when you make this free call now, we have Debt Destroyer experts ready to help. They can show you how to destroy your debt and get your life back on track. Debt problems don't have to be overwhelming. You can live stress-free and debt-free. Credit cards, medical bills, IRS tax problems, even student loan debt. Learn about free programs offered by the credit card companies, hospitals, and even the government that can help slash your debt. Call the Debt Destroyer now for free information. Call now. 800-430-8804. 800-430-8804. 800-430-8804. Again, that's 800-430-8804.
Text us 617-362-1385 with your comments and questions about today's show, and let us know what you think about the stories we're covering. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
This segment of the Financial Exchange is brought to you in part by the U.S. Virgin Islands Department of Tourism. The U.S. Virgin Islands are St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. Summer is now officially over, so now is the time to start looking at a fabulous holiday vacation, and there's no place better than the U.S. Virgin Islands. Enjoy perfect weather, world-class dining, incredible beaches, and a vibrant nightlife. No passport is needed, and there's no money to exchange. Take your next vacation in America's Caribbean paradise, the United States Virgin Islands. Go to visitusvi.com to book your trip. That's visitusvi.com.
All right, need to talk a little bit about the situation in basically everywhere that's been impacted by Hurricane Helene.
Carolinas, Tennessee seems like some of the worst of it, although I haven't seen much from...
Yeah, I mean,
Florida just seems always more prepared for this type of thing at this stage.
Well,
but
I don't know if they're more prepared. I mean, like the stuff on the Florida coast is still pretty bad.
Yeah.
But a few things to note about how this impacts things economically. Obviously, look, we could talk at length about, just how bad some of the devastation and flooding is, but we are a business show. Ultimately, we're looking at, hey, what's the potential economic impact of all of this? And a couple things. The first thing is, look, in the short term, you're obviously going to see a significantly decreased overall amount of economic activity in those areas. Just because, like, as an example, I've spent quite a bit of time on the west coast of Florida in the Tampa-St. Pete area. The beaches there are basically washed into the yards of houses right now. You've got cars that are, put through the first floors of houses and stuff like that. The area is basically inaccessible to travel for the next week or so, at least, until you can start to get that beach, the sand, just off the roads and everything.
Sure.
You got, like, again, 4 or 5 feet of sand in some cases on these roads. So all the tourists who are planning on heading down there, they can't go. Any of your beachfront hotels and stuff are closed because you can't even get there right now.
Yeah. Much of the Carolinas region and mountain region there, no power, likely to not have power.
You
for
got
days.
roads that are taken out by flooding water, so they're inaccessible by road. Like, you're not going to be able to get to these areas for quite a while. Again, from an economic activity standpoint, not as much generated there when you talk about,
Sure.
the mountains of Western Carolinas and Eastern Tennessee. There's not as much there, but you still have some big communities that are obviously, look, on a personal level, impacted, really significantly. But it's something where you try to figure out, okay, what's the overall economic impact? And the greater one is probably down in Florida just because of the population and size and scale there. Georgia as well as you go through Atlanta. But Atlanta seems to have been spared the worst of the flooding, even though it still is quite swampy at the moment. So you look at this and you say, okay, in the short term, there's going to be a decrease in activity as a result of this. Intermediate to long term, hey, there's going to be a ton of rescue funds that get devoted to, cleanup and rebuilding and things like that. And so that tends to be accretive to the economy in the long term there. But one of the wrinkles that we need to be prepared for is the fact that big hurricanes can have a big impact on jobs data.
Sure.
And looking at data, this was compiled by Renaissance Macro. I found it online here. And if you look at the impact on payrolls from large hurricanes, they look at some of the big ones that have happened over the last 20, 25 years, starting with Ivan in Florida, which caused the subsequent month payroll to be about 30,000 lower than the previous one. Some of that can just be regular fluctuations and this and that, but look, what I can tell you is all the hurricanes they cited here that have, the major ones that have hit in the last decade or two, they've all been downward moves. Katrina, obviously the size and scale there is
Sure.
Not unparalleled, but it's significant. You were talking about a decrease in jobs from 1 month to the next of about 130,000 jobs. Wilma, about 50,000. Ike, about 25,000. Superstorm Sandy, about 40,000. Irma in Florida, about 150,000. Ida in Louisiana, about 40,000. Barron in Texas, about 25,000. So you look at this and you say, look, we've got something that's pretty significant that's stretched across multiple states. It is very, very likely as a result of this that the October jobs data, which we're not going to get until the first week in November, remember, so this is looking out a month now, it's very likely that you are going to see that October jobs data be terrible to quite terrible.
Yeah.
The payroll collection data, the data window that happens there, is October 6th to 12th. So it starts next Monday and goes for a week. You're not going to have these areas back to normal by then. And so regardless of what we get this week for the September jobs report, the October data is likely to be a complete train wreck. And this is before you even get to the fact that we have this dockworkers strike that is looming.
Tonight, right?
Tonight at midnight. And how that potentially impacts other industries that might say, hey, we're going to be, putting, furloughing workers starting next week or something like that, right as this data collection begins. So the October numbers could look really, really bad is where I'm going with this.
So we've been obsessed over inflation data. If you look back over the last couple of years, that's been the only data point that matters. We've made the point on this program that that's really irrelevant for the future of markets at this point in time. It's not going to shake things. Can you think of anything more important than labor market readings over the next few months in terms of just the overall economic narrative of this economy?
No, and the problem is, like, the October one you have to disregard now. Like, you already have to just say, look, it's going to show either no growth or contraction probably. The only way that I think you can even look at it like in any meaningful way is if it comes in like close to where it was, if you come in anywhere near like 100,000, it's like, oh wow, there's more strength here than we thought.
But everything else is going to
you
just
have
be
to expect it to be bad because like this is
record.
what we've seen with hurricanes and how they affect payroll data, and this is a pretty bad one that's hit.
Yeah, and the pile-on effects of that looming dockworkers strike, which we will talk about, but the impact there for freight companies, for rail companies, for retailers, all of the above in terms of product that's going to be moving around the eastern seaboard over the next few months. This has the possibility to be severely disrupted on the not only the retail side, but on the actual labor market side too, because those 45,000 dock workers certainly wouldn't be the only ones not working should they go on strike.
No, well, look, and the other thing that you got to remember, dock workers go on strike, it's one thing. There's one group that really matters when it comes to strikes, and that's the Teamsters. Okay, the Teamsters act in solidarity with their other unions. They're not going to just be like, yeah, we're going to be okay picking up, all these other goods. And like a lot of times you're going to see slowdowns in terms of what they agree to do as well.
Yeah.
Because they want to support other unions. I mean, it's one. So this is something where if you're Jay Powell and you're trying to figure out what the heck to do, your October data,
pretty murky.
You're kind of like, well, I can't even use this because it's just it's going to show things are really bad.
Yeah.
And you like, what am I going to do with this? Because it's not because of anything long term. The problem that you have then, if you have to basically say, look, the October data we have to by and large disregard on the labor front. Well, now you're waiting to get the November data. You don't get that until early December. Hey, a lot of things can change in a couple months, and so you might be behind the eight ball in either way if the economy's either slowing and you're not realizing how much, or what if all these dock worker strikes and things, what if they cause more inflation because of goods shortages and things like that? You got some real potential problems here coming. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, it's Wall Street Watch.
Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter @TFE Show. Breaking business news is always first, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Let's talk LDL. AKA bad cholesterol. The higher your LDL cholesterol, the higher your risk of a heart attack or stroke. Your health matters. Know your number. Talk to your doctor and get your cholesterol checked. And learn how to help lower your LDL bad cholesterol. Because your health is in your hands. Find out more at heart.org/LDL.
This Veterans Day weekend, help honor all who have served this country. Join us on Saturday, November 9th for the 9th Annual Disabled American Veterans 5K Boston. It's a run and walk to support the DAV Department of Massachusetts. Saturday, November 9th at DCR's Castle Island in South Boston. Together, let's honor all who have sacrificed for our freedom. Register or donate now at dav5k.boston. That's dav5k.boston.
Cardiovascular disease is the #1 killer of women,
taking the lives of 1 in 3.
That's more than all forms of cancer combined.
For too long, heart disease and stroke have taken the lives of the women we love.
But we're not giving up because we have something better,
stronger, more powerful.
We have each other.
When we come together and go red,
the more power we have against our greatest health threat.
Visit GoRedForWomen.org today to learn more.
Saving money in an IRA or a 401k can provide tax advantages and are excellent ways to help make sure you're financially prepared for retirement. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and if you're nearing retirement, you need to be aware of the federal regulations regarding required minimum distributions. Once you reach a certain age, you must begin withdrawing money from these accounts. RMDs can influence which accounts to withdraw from first and how much you'll owe in taxes during retirement. If you need information regarding the rules related to RMDs, call us at 800-393-4001 and ask for your copy of our new free guide called Frequently Asked Questions about Required Minimum Distributions. RMDs are a core element to your retirement strategy, and this guide can help educate you on the rules related to them. That number again, 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Here at the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, we are committed to all students not only attending, but succeeding at school. Your presence is powerful. Share why you attend at doe.mass.edu.
Sponsored by the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education.
This is Tucker Silva of the Financial Exchange Show, and I'm joined today by estate planning attorney Todd Lutzke from the law firm of Cushing & Dolan with your Financial Exchange quick tip of the day. And today we're talking about your new guide, Todd, demystifying the top 7 estate planning trusts. If there are younger families out there, should they consider having a trust in place, and what type?
Most people don't think about it when you're young, but if you're a young family, meaning you've got minor children, you might not have a ton of assets yet, but you want to make sure that what you do have is protected for your children. You could probably use a revocable trust. I don't think you need an irrevocable trust, but a revocable trust. You put your assets in. Again, they're going to avoid probate. Again, it may or may not be a big estate tax issue at the moment, but whatever you have, your children can't own, right? They are minors. So you don't necessarily want to leave your assets to a guardian and have the guardian deal with everything when you can design a trust to hold the assets and ensure how and when and where and why they get these assets. Just pick the right trustee, put the language you need in the trust to control it for those children, and the trust will accomplish that task. So just because you're young, folks, doesn't mean you shouldn't think about your estate planning. Sometimes it's not all about the money and the probate and the taxes, but more so about the family behind the estate plan.
The estate planning experts at Cushing & Dolan have been helping families like yours for more than 30 years, and they have written a brand new guide called Demystifying the Top 7 Estate Planning Trusts. Call right now for your free copy, 866-848-5699. That's 848-5699, or you can request it from their website, legalexchangeshow.com.
The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing and Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. Time now for Wall Street Watch, a complete look at what's moving markets so far today, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Well, markets are currently down as we make our way through the last trading day of the month. The Dow is down 58 points, or just over 0.1%. The S&P 500 is down 3.8 points, or just under 0.1%. And the NASDAQ is down 10 points as well. NIO shares are up 12% after the Chinese electric vehicle maker announced it will receive a cash injection of 13.3 billion yuan for its NIO China. Strategic investors will provide 3.3 billion yuan of that injection, with the rest coming from NIO Inc. The transactions, which are expected to be completed by the end of the year, will reduce NIO Inc.'s stake in NIO China to 88.3%, down from 92.1%. Stellantis shares are down 13% after the automaker trimmed its full-year outlook, citing a deteriorating global industry backdrop. Ford and GM were also lower in sympathy. Alibaba's stock is up 2.5% after China's central bank announced it would tell banks to cut mortgage rates on existing home loans before the end of next month. This also spurred a broader rally among China stocks, which saw their best day of trading since 2008. Rocket Lab shares are up 2.7%, extending the more than 12% gain seen during Friday's session. On Friday, the aerospace and defense name received a price target increase from KeyBank Capital Markets, which cited increased visibility in Rocket Lab's ability to scale its business. And finally, CVS Health stock is up 3% after the Wall Street Journal reported that hedge fund Glenview Capital, a major shareholder in the company, was expected to meet with CVS leadership on Monday to propose fixes for the struggling business. This could be the first step in an activist push. I am Ben Kitchen, and that was Wall Street Watch.
Mike, there's a piece here in the Wall Street Journal talking about how in the last 3 months we've seen a pretty decent-sized shift in markets in terms of, hey, what's been, really acting as leadership here. And it's not the stuff that's been acting as leadership for, the year and a half going into Q3.
Yeah, a broadening away from artificial intelligence is what's being discussed here.
Here are the best performing sectors in Q3 in order. Utilities. It's not really
interesting.
Not really technology. We've got real estate. We have industrials. We have consumer discretionary. we have, sorry, I'm just trying to match up like colors and things on my screen to what is what. Materials is next. Consumer staples, healthcare, communication services, technology, and then energy. Technology has been the second worst performing sector over the last 3 months in the S&P 500, which is kind of wild. Like you
think about what's driven all the returns over the last 2 years.
Yeah, so the last 3 months has been very different in terms of what we've seen here. The question, this is the $1 trillion question in investing, is what I am seeing temporary or permanent? And look, in investing, nothing is permanent, but by permanent, I just mean, hey, is this a long enough shift that it's going to stick around? And look, technology has been driven by a small group of companies that have benefited from the AI boom.
NVIDIA, Microsoft, AMD.
They're not going out of business anytime soon.
Nope.
It's not that. But you can have companies that get ahead of themselves as far as valuation and projections and things like that. And so ultimately, what's going to determine this, in my opinion, is whether AI can actually eat the world or not.
Yeah, there's a few things happening here at once. On the technology side in particular, it does seem as though more questions are being asked of these tech titans as to what's the long-term plan here. Or forget about the long-term plan. Like, what's the next few quarters plan here in terms of what you're spending and when it's actually going to pay off for shareholders? And that's maybe less of a question for NVIDIA and more of a question for Microsoft and others. But for NVIDIA, it's just, hey, if these questions are being asked of Microsoft, how long can you continue to sell these semiconductors? On the everything else part of the market, there seems to be an acceptance of, increased optimism about the soft landing. That's, I think, where I would land on everything else. I mean, utilities are having their heyday right now because, related to some of the tech stuff. Real estate has not gone through the calamity that everybody was worried about, and we're seeing rates coming down substantially. There are other factors at work here, but they all seem to tie into, when we talk about everything other than artificial intelligence, a lot of it ties into me of this optimism about, and I'm optimistic too, about what this economy could look like if we don't end up at 5% unemployment, right? Just imagine for a moment what this economy looks like if you keep unemployment under 4.5%, but by this time next year, you've got interest rates on 30-year mortgages with a 5 in front of them. That's a very different economy.
I don't know if they get there, though. That's the thing. Like, if you don't see unemployment move up in that fashion, I don't know if you necessarily get to 30-year fixed-rate mortgages with a 5 in front of them.
You might not. I mean, we're here at 6. We've been pretty close. We've been as low as 6.15 on the 30 years.
Yeah, we're at 6.2 right now.
I don't think it would shock me to get into the high 5s. That's not that far of a swing. But you're right. I mean, without a devastating recession, it is tough to envision exactly how you get to a 5.8% mortgage, for example.
Let's take a quick break here. When we come back, we're talking China when we return, and then uranium.
This is your home for the most comprehensive coverage of the economy and the trends on Wall Street. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Are you looking to volunteer for an amazing nonprofit organization that helps our veterans? The DAV Department of Massachusetts Transportation Network needs volunteers right now. This network provides free transportation to and from any VA medical appointment for veterans of all eras. To become a volunteer driver, you do not need to be a veteran or a DAV member. You just need to have the willingness to help our veterans and have a valid driver's license. Sign up now at davma.org. That's davma.org.
Trusts are essential documents that can help protect your assets from the nursing home. Call Cushing & Dolan right now at 866-848-5699 and get their free guide called Demystifying the Top 7 Estate Planning Trusts. Let them help determine which is right for you. That's 866-848-5699 or request the guide online by visiting their website at legalexchangeshow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. The following is an important message from SAB Solutions Incorporated, your trusted advisor for companies needing inventory management. Visit them online at sabsolutionsma.com.
I'm Colleen Sullivan with SAB Solutions. Is your warehouse inventory inaccurate? If so, then SAB Solutions can help. We are experts in inventory management and warehouse operations systems, and with our data-driven solution, we can improve your company's efficiency while saving you time and money. We can streamline the management process, making it easy for you to identify slow-moving or obsolete items while maintaining your focus on customer satisfaction and stock levels. SAB Solutions provides real-time data on inventory levels using digital technology, and we've been a trusted advisor to numerous companies for over 15 years. SAB Solutions is your one-stop shop for all your warehouse management systems. For more information and a no-cost assessment, visit us online at sabsolutionsma.com. That's sabsolutionsma.com.
A trust is an essential document that can help protect your assets from a nursing home and potentially eliminate your estate taxes. Cushing & Dolan are experts in elder law, estate planning, and asset protection. And this month, their new guide called Demystifying the Top 7 Estate Planning Trusts can help you learn about the various types of trusts that exist, the pros and cons of each, and ultimately, which one will be best for you and your family. Trusts are a critical element to any solid estate plan, but the process can be tricky, and that's why it's important to understand the differences between the types of trusts that are available. Planning for later life is a challenging process, so don't leave your assets to chance. Call Cushing & Dolan right now at 866-848-5699 and get your free guide today. That's 866-848-5699. You can also request the guide online by visiting their website at legalexchangeshow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Hey, listen, are you a 50-year-old person looking for term life insurance? Then you need to talk to Bob. Bob specializes in helping people find $1 million or more of term life insurance for a couple of $100 a month. Look, you need to know there's a price war in the term life insurance business, and you may be paying too much. Call Bob, and he'll shop and see how much money he can save you. Look, this could be the last term life insurance policy you ever have. Your rates are guaranteed for the next 20 years. That's right, guaranteed level rates for the next 20 years. And if you're a smoker or your health is not perfect, Bob has great rates for you too. So for $1 million of term life insurance coverage for a couple of $100 a month, call Bob right now. 800-965-7987. 800-965-7987. 800-965-7987. That's 800-965-7987. Paid for by Term Direct.
Missed one of our shows? Catch up anytime by asking your Alexa smart speaker to play The Financial Exchange. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Let's talk a little bit about China here. China just, over the last week, it's like every day just announcing, hey, we got this policy to stimulate the economy.
It's full Oprah style.
You get some yuan, and you get some yuan, and you get some yuan at a discounted rate. And that's kind of what we've been seeing here. And so Chinese markets have just been rocking and rolling for the first time in a while. And again, here's the thing. Chinese stock markets, they shut down tomorrow for another week. For a week.
Yeah.
Okay, it's Golden Week in China, which means there is no trading that's going to happen then. So there's all of this excitement in advance of it. But we've seen stimulus attempts from China before in the last couple of years, and they kind of flutter for a few, days or weeks and then fizzle out. This is different to a certain extent in terms of the scale, but
I don't know if it's different. I mean, there are many people who are further experts on China than I am who are calling it different this time.
It still is just somewhat droppy in a bucket in terms of how big it is compared to, the size of the overall Chinese economy. And some of it might just be, hey, this is preventing the Chinese economy from falling apart rather than actually stimulating it to go anywhere.
Right. So, I mean, things you have seen, some of the best stock market performance you've seen out of China in over a decade. So, nothing to sneeze at there. That's been significant. You have seen the biggest bank in the country announce pretty significant cuts to interest rates really across the board. The government releasing restrictions on investments and ownership in second properties. So investment properties, there were higher interest rates, higher deposit requirements there for second properties. They are releasing a whole bunch of those and just generally cutting rates across the board and putting more in the way of stimulus. I think the question would be, does this solve what are, pretty widely accepted to be some of the big problems with the Chinese economy? One, you have a youth unemployment rate that they finally stopped, discussing and reporting on because it got so, what was it, like a fifth of young Chinese
It got up to like
unemployed?
25%. They got rid of the series for like 9 months and then brought it back, and it was magically at like 15%.
Right. So nobody buys that, but nonetheless, youth unemployment, massive issue in that country. Real estate sector, a complete and utter mess because they allowed it to become a bubble and then had to slowly release that bubble and now seem to be trying to maybe just reinflate that bubble, I guess. And then the third piece, which is, I guess, more of an overall long-term issue, which is, Chinese citizens' willingness and ability to support the economy through consumerism. And so, I'm not sure which, if any of those stimulus measures fix, but what seems different this time is at least language that seems very committed to not only are we doing this now, but we're going to remain supportive of these sectors for a longer period of time.
Yep.
So, again, I don't know if that's enough to change things on the ground, and I think it could prop up the real estate sector. I don't think it really does much of anything in regard to the sentiment in China of the average consumer of, hey, can I afford to spend my savings? Will I have any comfort whatsoever that there will be a safety net if I fall down here?
Folks, the Armstrong Advisory Group has a guide available this month, and if you check your calendars, it's September 30th, which means it's the last day of September, last chance to get the guide. It's titled Frequently Asked Questions About RMDs, Required Minimum Distributions, and it answers some of the big questions that people have about required distributions. Who needs to take them? When do you need to take them? How are they calculated and how much do you need to take? What are the penalties on these? How does it work with inherited IRAs now that they've changed the rules, almost half a dozen times? Yeah, I think that's accurate. And so this guide helps to work through some of those questions that you have to make sure that you stay on the right side of the law and regulations and are taking those RMDs so that you don't end up penalized. How do you get it? Call 800-393-4001. Again, this is the last day that this guide is going to be offered. So you call 800-393-4001, and that is how you request the guide. Frequently asked questions about RMDs. That number again is 800-393-4001, and this is the last day to get the guide. Frequently asked questions about RMDs.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Mike, let's talk a little bit about cobalt and lithium, two things that sound really interesting, but ultimately we don't know anything about.
What do you mean we? Like you and I, not the collective universe.
No, humans do. You and I have no idea about lithium. I know it's used in batteries. I know it's important. I have no idea anything else about it, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, fair enough.
I know.
One thing I knew about it was it seemed like we sure didn't have enough of it to satisfy the demand from electric vehicles and other battery storage a few years ago. That was
sure.
It was being talked about in the same way that oil was going to, the end of oil, peak oil, same arguments were being made about lithium. It's so impossible to get out of the ground, really difficult, dirty. It's all in China. What's going to happen here? There are a lot of, I think, comparisons that could have been made to the arguments over big oil or peak oil rather from, I don't know, peak oil has been discussed many times, but 90s comes to mind.
Sure. And so ultimately what this piece here from Bloomberg is talking about is hey, you do have these minerals, lithium and cobalt and things like that are important for either building batteries or electric motors. And when you look at, how these markets are functioning right now, the prices have come down significantly because the demand simply hasn't been there in the quantities that people thought it would be.
It's two sides as well. I mean, there's a demand side where, yes, many automakers are now pulling back on their EV production plans. But China also apparently either misread or didn't care about the state of the market here, and
probably a little bit
has
of both.
Oversupplied things pretty considerably in that space.
And so you've got these, inventories that have just been accumulating. I'll quote you from the piece. Even the most optimistic think it would take 18 to 24 months to clear the surplus. More circumspect observers talk about 5 years or longer. And so you've just seen a complete collapse in the pricing on these. And what that means is, look, let's say that you do see ramped up demand for these. You might not see increased production because companies that ramped up production previously, not inside of China, are feeling a little bit snake bit by it. They're saying, look, we spent all this money and prices fell apart. Like, we didn't get any return on investment. Maybe we're even going out of business as a result of this. And it's kind of similar to the 2015 situation that we saw develop in energy markets where Russia said, look, we're going to pump as much as we can in order to try to flood the market and put a bunch of U.S. shale producers out of business. And now, as a result, a full decade later, your energy companies are sitting there saying, yeah, we've had some profits, but we're not going to get greedy on this because we tried that once before and it worked badly. So, no, we're not going to increase production, which, by the way, has turned out to be the right thing as demand has been lighter on oil going forward than people expected. But in, these commodity markets, you don't know exactly how it's going to end up playing out.
This article is once again pointed in or produced in a way that makes it seem as though China very intentionally brought the market for lithium and cobalt to its knees and has now oversupplied the world with these products and prices plunging. This is not a desirable outcome for China.
No.
China has invested likely billions of dollars in mining of rare earth materials here and has now oversupplied the market like they have with other areas such as automobiles, where prices are now plunging globally for these rare earth materials. And again, a lot of this depends on whether or not the United States and other countries choose to import this stuff from China or slap massive tariffs on it, but it has the potential to make battery production globally a fair bit cheaper. And again, I just go back to this worry we seem to have at, China's got their act together. They can snap their fingers and, suddenly supply the world with cobalt and put us all out of business. And that's true. They did seem to be able to snap their fingers and quickly, supply the world with cobalt and lithium. But they also seemingly have no idea what the future demand is going to look like for some of these things and completely misread markets on many, many occasions. Yeah, I don't think this was intentional.
It might have just been that they didn't care about the concerns.
Maybe.
They might just
we don't care about the market.
Who cares
concerns.
if we lose money on this?
Right.
Like, just get us the lithium.
Yeah.
And that isn't necessarily a winning strategy in the long run.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know. Like, did they want to just say, we don't want anyone else in the world to be able to do this profitably, so we're going to take the market? The same thing they've done with solar panels, for example, where you pretty much cannot make solar panels anywhere other than China because they just oversupply the entire market and cratered prices.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where you're trying to figure out, is this due to malice or incompetence? And it's
the answer is sometimes it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't necessarily matter. It's probably a little bit of both. And the other thing that I do find interesting on this stuff, it's like, look, if you got all these excess inventories, all right, like someone out there, if you're smart and you have, no immediate term horizon for, needing this. Okay, but like, I don't know how you store lithium. I don't know if it I'm sure it doesn't spoil like eggs, but I don't know if there's things where you can't store it for 5 years.
Do you think Canada can store lithium in the same place that they keep their strategic maple syrup reserve?
They can wrap it in the maple syrup to prevent degradation.
Now we're talking.
Oh, sounds great. Actually, it's probably awful.
Yum, lithium.
probably very bad. Let's take a quick break here. When we come back, we got Hour 2 coming up.
Despite overwhelming support from Democrats and Republicans, time is running out for Congress to pass the AM Radio for Every Vehicle Act, which will keep AM radio in cars. Text AM to 52886 and ask Congress to bring this bill to a vote now. AM radio is too important to let this moment pass us by.
Message and data rates may apply. You may receive up to 4 messages a month, and you may text STOP to STOP.
This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
Summer is coming to an end, so it's time to take out your planner and book a spectacular vacation in the U.S. Virgin Islands, America's Caribbean paradise. St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John are 3 of the most incredible islands anywhere in the Caribbean, and their popularity is at an all-time high. Go to visitusvi.com and check out the American Caribbean, where you'll find all the information you need to book a trip that you'll never forget. If you act fast, you can still celebrate New Year's on St. Croix and enjoy the St. Croix Crucian Festival from December 26th through January 4th. Enjoy world-class cuisine, pristine beaches, a wide variety of water sports, and some of the greatest musical acts the islands have to offer. Travel to and from New England is simple, and your stay will be hassle-free, because this is the American Caribbean. There's no passport needed and no money to exchange. Fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands on your trip to America's Caribbean paradise. Go to visitusvi.com and make your plans today. That's visitusvi.com.
Sometimes we know what's next. Other times, it's impossible to know. Life can change in an instant. Don't be caught standing by the next time someone's heart stops. Knowing CPR gives you the ability to act and takes you from bystander to lifesaver. CPR is a life-saving skill. Join the nation of lifesavers today by learning CPR at heart.org/nation. National support for CPR education provided by Elevance Health Foundation.
Every single day, more than 2,000 U.S. companies face a cyber threat or attack. The Boston Red Sox in Fenway Park chose Centripetal as their official cyber network security partner to ensure the protection of their network and ballpark. Intelligence is the answer to protecting your network, and Centripetal is the global leader of intelligence-powered cybersecurity. The choice is yours. Are you going to be another one of those attacked companies? Or are you ready to experience a radical new cybersecurity solution? Find out why the Red Sox chose Centripetal at www.centripetal.ai. Trusts are essential documents that can help protect your assets from the nursing home. Call Cushing & Dolan right now at 866-848-5699 and get their free guide called Demystifying the Top 7 Estate Planning Trusts. Let them help determine which is right for you. That's 866-848-5699. Or request the guide online by visiting their website at LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. This is the Money Matters Radio Network. WBNW 1120 AM and W275 CM FM. Concord, Boston. The Money Matters Radio Network.
Hi, this is Chuck and Mike from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and we have a guide available this month titled Frequently Asked Questions About RMDs. Mike, one of the places where there's been a huge change in the last few years is with regards to inherited IRAs and whether individuals are required to take money out of them on an annual basis. What is the latest guidance from the IRS?
Well, the latest guidance is that it still depends. It depends on so much and so many complicating factors. Were you married at the time that you passed away? What's the age difference between you and the person who passed away? Are you older or younger? When did the person pass away? I could go on at length here, Chuck, but there are a lot of complicating factors. But generally speaking, yes, you are going to be subject to a required minimum distribution in most cases when you inherit a retirement.
And for someone who is inheriting a retirement account from someone other than a spouse, there also is this 10-year period with which you must exhaust the account completely, so you're going to have to end up having all of that come out as taxable income, even if your RMDs don't satisfy that 10-year requirement.
Yeah, they really like to complicate this, and so you've got two competing formulas in there at all times about what you have to do with a retirement account that's inherited. Really, really complicated stuff, Joe.
It's a really complex issue. If you like to learn more about this topic, the guide again is titled Frequently Asked Questions About RMDs, and the way to request it is by calling 800 800-393-4001. That guide, again, is titled Frequently Asked Questions About RMDs, and the phone number is 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Are you retired like me and you just found out you owe the IRS a ton of money? Well, what would your life be like if they took your retirement savings away from you? They can do it and your property. If you owe the IRS back taxes or you haven't filed in a while, the Tax Relief Line is here to help you. They can stop the IRS from taking your retirement savings. If you qualify, you could have your tax bill reduced to zero. That's right. If you're retired and you owe the IRS a lot in back taxes, you could have your entire tax bill reduced to zero due. The IRS has now hired thousands of new employees, so they're ready to come after you. Don't let them take your retirement savings or property. Make this free call now.
800-251-2153. 800-251-2153. 800-251-2153. That's 800-251-2153.
As a busy mom to 4 kids, my to-do list is full.
Trying to fit in exercise, eating right, and prioritizing self-care can feel next to impossible.
While we can't add more hours to the day, we do have a great resource to help.
Go Red for Women has easy tips, tools, and information to help you and your family live a healthier life.
So to all the moms, the aunts, the grandmothers, and amazing women out there doing it all,
visit goredforwomen.org/momlife today.
You take care of them, Go Red for Women will take care of you.
Hi, I'm Lisa Hughes. This Veterans Day weekend, help honor all who've served our country and join WBZ for the annual DAV 5K, a run or walk to support disabled vets here in Massachusetts with housing, transportation, and other critical support. Saturday, November 9th at DCR's Castle Island in South Boston. Let's thank all who have sacrificed for our freedom and help our heroes on their road to recovery. Visit DAV5K.Boston to register or donate today.
The DAV 5K Boston is presented by Veterans Development Corporation.
Protecting your assets is your most important financial responsibility, and irrevocable trusts can help you. Keep your assets safe from probate and the nursing home by calling Cushing & Dolan right now at 866-848-5699. Get their new guide called Unlocking the Power of Irrevocable Medicaid Trusts. That's 866-848-5699, or request it online by visiting LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
For 40 years, Cancer Support Community has been a relentless ally for anyone impacted by cancer, with free services provided online and in person, with their newest location in Massachusetts. Connect with Cancer Support Community Massachusetts for free emotional support, educational resources, patient navigation, financial counseling, and more. 617-797-3391. CancerSupportMass.org, CancerSupportMass.org.
The Financial Exchange is produced by Money Matters Radio and is hosted by employees of the Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. All opinions expressed are solely those of the hosts, do not reflect the opinions of Armstrong Advisory or anyone else. Investments can lose money. This program does not offer any specific financial or investment advice. Please consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong Advisory and the advertisers heard on this program do not endorse each other or their services. Armstrong and Money Matters Radio do not compensate each other for referrals and are not affiliated. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Mike Armstrong. Your exclusive look at business and financial news affecting your day, your city, your world. Stay informed and up to date about economic and market trends, plus breaking business news every day. The Financial Exchange is a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. Help us support our great American heroes by visiting DAV5K.Boston and making a donation today. The DAV 5K Boston is presented by Veterans Development Corporation. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Mike Armstrong.
It's Chuck, Mike, and Ben with you here as we head to the second hour of the Financial Exchange. Stocks not doing a whole bunch of anything at the moment. They are down slightly. The Dow's off 75 points. The S&P is down 2. The NASDAQ down 12. So, again, all moves within about 0.1%, maybe 0.2 on the Dow, so not too much movement there. 10-year U.S. Treasury is moving up slightly in yield to 3.775%, up 2.6 basis points. Oil, West Texas Intermediate, up 55 cents to 68.73 a barrel. When we take a look at the AAA national average of gas prices, down 0.2 cents overnight to 3.21 6 cents. Been hovering around that 3.20 mark for the last couple weeks now. We'll see if we get any further movement, but that is where we are at the moment there. And we've got gold today down $12.20 an ounce. And, Mike, anything else catching your eye? Again, it's a pretty quiet day overall here at the moment.
Not much that is moving markets at the moment, but just in terms of what will be having potential to move markets this week. One, Jerome Powell is speaking this afternoon at about 2 p.m. I don't know what the occasion is, but he will be addressing someone at 1:55, and lots of people will be listening. Tomorrow morning, we get ISM manufacturing data. We also get job openings and construction spending, all at 10 a.m. To me, that job openings one will be a big data point to keep an eye on. Wednesday, ADP employment comes out, along with every other Federal Reserve member speaking. Jobless claims, as we get every week, come out on Thursday, along with ISM services and factory orders. And then finally on Friday, the big one, which would be the jobs report, comes out Friday at 8:30 a.m. You'll get the unemployment rate, you'll get the number of jobs created, wage information. So that's probably the one that has the ability to move things the most in terms of this narrative around the soft landing, but a fairly big week in terms of labor market data that we'll be getting. And then, as we mentioned during the first hour of the program, Chuck, a lot of this will kind of be in this opaque area beginning in October because of the impact from the hurricane, as well as strikes that we are likely to be seeing over the next month.
And let's talk a little bit about one of those strikes. Mike, have you ever flown on an airplane?
Yes.
Have you ever flown on an airplane with 150,000 pounds of asparagus?
Not to my knowledge.
I haven't either, and I wouldn't want to be on that plane.
Although I honestly am not sure I would know. I mean, how many pounds of asparagus can you fit in the luggage area?
Not 150,000. I think this is like the cargo plane is filled with asparagus, not just, underneath the the passenger cabin.
Okay.
The reason I bring this up is Tim Ryan, who is the owner of Square One Farms, who is an importer of agricultural products, has 150,000 pounds of asparagus that he needs to get to Miami from Peru.
As one does.
Wait, honest, doesn't this just sound like a great setup for a movie? Like this
in a world where there's a lot of.
It just sounds like this is Ocean's 14 or something like that. You know, like they're stealing the asparagus.
Yep.
The reason they're flying this in is because the Port of Miami is expected to be closed starting at midnight tonight because of the International Longshoremen's Association, which is going to strike beginning at midnight tonight.
As far as we know.
The International Longshoremen's Association that represents 45,000 dock workers all along the East Coast and Gulf Coast. And again, it is a huge union that is critically important to the products that America imports. Just as an example, in this Wall Street Journal piece, the ports represented by this union handled 74% of the country's seaborne wine imports, 75% of our banana imports, and 89% of imports of salt used in chemical manufacturing. So again, these are just some examples here. And it's not necessarily that these are all going to stop being imported. It's that, hey, some of these things, they're going to start flying in on cargo planes at additional cost. And what does that mean in terms of how these products, how companies pass on those additional costs? Can they or can they not? But you've seen estimates, I've seen estimates that this strike, if it goes into effect, is going to reduce U.S. economic activity anywhere between about $3.5 and $5 billion a day. Those are the estimates that I've seen. It's a good chunk of change. Like, you do the math out at $5 billion a day, it's $150 billion a month. It's $1.8 trillion a year. You're talking like 5-6% of GDP you're taking off the table right there. And in terms of what the International Longshoremen's Association is asking for 77% wage increase over a 6-year period. So they're asking for a large chunk. The counter that they received from the ports and ocean carriers was a 40% wage increase over the same time. So it's not like the other side is saying, no, we're offering like 2% a year. The other side is still talking like 5.5-6% a year over this time period.
Who employs all these people?
So this
is just, with Boeing, it's fairly easy to understand. Like, oh yeah, we are
sometimes
negotiating
it's
with
the ports,
Boeing,
and sometimes it is the carriers like Maersk. So it depends. It can be both depending on how the port is set up.
They're all represented apparently by the United States Maritime Alliance, so that's who's actually doing this negotiating. But that adds a layer of complexity, right? With Boeing, it's hey, we want these wage increases, we want these pension contributions. These are employees that likely all have slightly different benefits. They all belong to the same union, but they're negotiating with likely a lot of different employers.
So this is something that has the potential to be hugely disruptive in terms of actual goods traveling around the United States and into the United States. Because remember, it's not just the disruption that you're going to see at the ports. You're going to see the Teamsters acting in solidarity with the union saying, hey, look, we're... great, you're flying this produce into Miami instead of, taking it to the port. We're not picking that up. That's scab produce. That's the stuff that you will see. And so as you, try to play out how this, ends up impacting the overall economy, it could be significant, and it's happening at a time that the Southeast is already disrupted because of the impacts of Hurricane Helene that just went through there. The obvious, the one clear place where you're going to see an impact if this strike goes into effect and stays more than 5 or 6 days, it's going to be the job numbers for October, which are going to be terrible. Like we're not going to be able to tell anything from October,
right?
There's a good chance that you just have to take October, throw it out because it doesn't mean anything.
So a few things. There's no great time for a strike of dockworkers. It seems to always be not a great time. You're talking about food supply and all sorts of other items.
Week after July 4th.
Yeah.
Probably the best time, right?
If you're going to choose one. Yeah. Maybe the week after Christmas. Fewer imports coming in at that stage. This is the time, if you're unfamiliar, right? If you are any retailer in the country,
this is when your shipments are coming in for the Christmas season.
All your stuff is coming in for the Christmas season. Now, how much of that is coming on the West Coast from China? Good point.
Right.
That might not be as big of a concern, but European imports and a lot of industrial stuff coming in through these ports will not be affecting military cargo. That seems obvious. Or, interesting to me, cruise ship services will not be affected by this strike should it come into effect here. But nonetheless, this one combined with what we're seeing at Boeing right now just does have the ability to not only be seen in the October numbers, but you think about all of the related industries that may need to furlough workers because of something like this. It could be extensive if it lasts.
Also, if you want a great trivia question, either of you watch The Wire at any point?
Yeah.
Ben, yeah. So in The Wire, second season takes place at the Port of Baltimore. And the longshoremen there, they're not referred to as longshoremen, they're referred to as stevedores. Have you ever wondered where that term comes from? I'm asking either of you.
I wonder almost every day, Chuck.
Again, this is like I saw it and I'm like, why are they being? Are they all named Steve? Like, what's the deal here? It actually came from the phonetic spelling of estevador, which is the Portuguese word for man who loads ships and stows cargo. And it just became common in terms of how longshoremen were referred to, and so that's where the term stevedores comes from. Is Portuguese and Spanish.
Was unaware that Baltimore had a heavy Portuguese population.
Isn't it wild? Yeah.
That's good.
The other thing, I believe longshoremen and estevadores are typically separated in terms of their unions. So, they can be referring to the same people, but not always. Longshoremen can sometimes refer to just dock workers, whereas stevedores are the ones who operate the cranes.
I see.
So it can be different in some cases, but not always. It's kind of like all squares are rectangles, but not all rectangles are squares.
Yeah, got it.
It's that situation, I think.
Good comparison.
Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we got another union story to cover. Boeing and their union still stalled. We'll give you an update there, and we've got trivia right after this.
Tune in for Trivia, brought to you by Applebee's. Every day at 11:20 for your chance to win cool prizes. Text us at 617-362-1385 and use keyword Applebee's. Complete rules are available at financialexchangeshow.com. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network. Summer is coming to an end, so it's time to take out your planner and book a spectacular vacation in the U.S. Virgin Islands, America's Caribbean paradise. St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John are three of the most incredible islands anywhere in the Caribbean, and their popularity is at an all-time high. Go to visitusvi.com and check out the American Caribbean, where you'll find all the information you need to book a trip that you'll never forget. If you act fast, you can still celebrate New Year's on St. Croix and enjoy the St. Croix Crucian Festival from December 26th through January 4th. Enjoy world-class cuisine, pristine beaches, a wide variety of water sports, and some of the greatest musical acts the islands have to offer. Travel to and from New England is simple, and your stay will be hassle-free, because this is the American Caribbean. There's no passport needed and no money to exchange. Fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands on your trip to America's Caribbean paradise. Go to visitusvi.com and make your plans today. That's visitusvi.com.
The IRS doesn't let you keep retirement funds indefinitely, so make sure you understand the rules related to required minimum distributions. Hi, this is Chuck Zodda from the Armstrong Advisory Group. It's important for you to know that you must begin taking minimal annual withdrawals from your traditional IRA, simple IRA, 401k plan, or other retirement accounts once you reach a certain age. These annual withdrawals will be included in your taxable income, except for any part that was already taxed. When to take these withdrawals depends on your exact age, so as you build your retirement strategy, the rules regarding RMDs become even more important. Call us right now at 800-393-4001 and ask for your copy of the new free guide called Frequently Asked Questions About RMDs. That number again is 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Congress is poised to pass a bill to keep AM radio in cars, but time is running out. 82 million Americans risk losing the news, sports, talk, traffic, and vital emergency information they rely on. Text AM to 52886 and tell Congress to pass this bill now.
Message and data rates may apply. You may receive up to 4 messages a month, and you may text STOP to stop.
This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
Environmental nonprofit Ocean River Institute is working with communities to tackle climate change with nature-based solutions that feature slowing water down and building more soil with grasses and plants. Research indicates that people acting in their own neighborhoods can build an inch of soil in a year and slow sea level rise down by as much as 25%. Please visit oceanriver.org for more information on opportunities to make a difference and go the distance for savvy stewardship of a greener and bluer planet Earth.
Last year, we introduced you to Mark Vaughter, CEO of Veterans Development Corporation. Mark is a career military man, and we're proud to have him back as the presenting sponsor of the 2024 DAV 5K Boston.
I'm a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans, Department of Massachusetts. The DAV does incredible work, and it was one of the first organizations I became familiar with after my military service ended in 1984. As I built my company, Veterans Development Corporation, I did it knowing that I'd be giving back to fellow vets who need jobs, support services, medical supplies, and much more. I work with disabled veterans every day, and is one of the key reasons why I'm such a big supporter of Dan Stack and the Disabled American Veterans, Department of Massachusetts, in this year's DAV 5K Boston. Please join me in supporting this tremendous cause by taking part in this year's event or by making a donation to the DAV.
Veterans Development Corporation is proud to be the presenting sponsor of this year's DAV 5K, taking place on Saturday, November 9th at Fort Independence in South Boston. To register for this year's race, visit dav5k.boston.
The Financial Exchange Show podcast drops every day on Apple, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Hit that subscribe button and leave us a 5-star review. You're listening to the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Trivia is brought to you by Applebee's. Take your friends or family to any area Applebee's and enjoy half-price late-night appetizers after 9 p.m., including boneless wings, spinach and artichoke dip, and warm pretzels dipped in beer cheese. And don't forget to join Club Applebee's to enjoy exclusive deals and specials. You'll get a free appetizer just for signing up. Now, that's eating good in the neighborhood, void where prohibited, dine in only. Well, Mike requested a month's worth of candy trivia, and we'll start it a day early for you here, but it's going to be all candy trivia leading up to Halloween. And today, we'll start with a very simple trivia question. The question being, how many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop? Your question today, how many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop? Think of that old commercial that's been running on air for 56 years. How many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop? The fourth correct answer today will be our winner. You can text us at 617-362-1385 with the correct answer, and you'll win a Financial Exchange Show t-shirt and be registered to win a $100 gift card to Applebee's. Be sure to include the keyword Applebee's in your text. We'll give away the Applebee's gift card on Friday's show. That's 617-362-1385, and the fourth correct response will be our winner. See the complete contest rules at financialexchangeshow.com.
Mike, an update on Boeing and their union negotiations. Apparently, no progress being made on talks. I'll quote here from, let's see, this is, I don't know, just a report from Dow Jones, it looks like. Friday night, the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers, Local 751, the main local union representing some 33,000 Boeing employees, tweeted the talks between the sides have broken off with little progress and we have no further dates scheduled at this time.
Usually a great time.
They've been talking about wage differences as being a key sticking point, but another piece is supposedly the defined benefit plan that Boeing does not want to unfreeze. The interesting thing about this, defined benefit, if you're not familiar with that term, is another name for pension. And the piece here that is kind of interesting is we covered, I think it might have been like 6 months ago, maybe 9, that IBM was actually restarting their pension plan.
Yeah.
And the reason they were doing so is because interest rates had gone up, and so the funding looked better for the pension plan with higher interest rates. And they said, yeah, we're going to do this because it's actually cheaper now for us to contribute to the pension than it is to continue making matching 401k contributions.
Now, that rate situation has changed pretty dramatically since IBM made that announcement. That was back when, long-term rates were up near 5%.
Correct. But they're still, close to 4.
Yep.
And so you look at this and say, gee, what kind of math is Boeing doing that's different from IBM's on this, and why would they not come to a similar conclusion? Obviously, different plans, different investment structure, things like that can play into it. But you look at it, and when IBM did that, I said, gee, I wonder if any companies with pensions are going to, do this same thing, because the reason companies moved away from pensions was because, hey, in a period where interest rates are falling and getting lower, it becomes more expensive to operate them. As rates move up, it actually becomes cheaper relative to the alternative. And so I wonder how closely Boeing has looked at this. And the reason that I ask is, look, we can say a lot of things about IBM and how badly run they've been over the last 10 to 15 years.
They're good accountants.
They are phenomenal at financial engineering. Yeah. It is probably the best thing that you can say about the company right now is that they are great financial engineers.
So sad.
And so if they're coming to the conclusion that they should, restart their pension, you kind of wonder, hey, have other companies looked at this seriously? Because maybe it's not as bad as they think it is. And maybe Boeing's reticence to do this is, hey, we're just, this is something that we've pushed back on for a while, and we want to continue that. The counter, and the one thing that is different, IBM does not have a unionized workforce that is, collectively bargained with. And so if the pension has to be collectively bargained, and you can't just get rid of it when you choose to, that is a fundamental difference between those two companies that could be why IBM doesn't want to reopen that as a bargaining chip.
I personally...
not IBM, Boeing.
I personally look at the demise of the American pension. I mean, these days, only 15% of private workers are actually covered by a defined benefit pension plan. It's a small fraction. I look at that death of the pension plan and then the slow uptake on 401ks and education that was required, and quite frankly, 20, 30 years ago, 401k plans that weren't all that great in terms of costs that were borne by the employee, etc., as just a terrible period of time for a group of baby boomers who are kind of caught in the middle of that transition.
Gen X, you could refer to them as, actually.
Was it Gen
X?
X?
Gen X is like right in the middle of it.
Yeah. So, older Gen Xers, younger baby boomers, all affected by this in their retirement. At this stage, I really do wonder, do you think it is in the best interest of Boeing's union to be arguing for this pension? I mean, we've talked about, a result of all this could be a downgrade of Boeing's debt to below investment grade credit quality.
It's true. Yeah.
Do you know what happens to your 401k when your company goes bust?
Still yours.
Nothing. It's still yours. What happens to your pension when your company goes bust?
Becomes just another creditor in the whole thing.
You suddenly are insured by the PBGC, and, they'll hopefully get you something so long as not everybody's going bust at the same time. But I just do... I find that compelling and interesting. Now, I've made the argument that I don't think Boeing's ever going out of business, and, that's just my personal view. But if you're the union, you have to be more worried about that today than really any time in Boeing's history.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, there are a lot of benefits to having pensions out there, and I'm not sure on the net they outweigh the risks that you have for a pension going bust. But I just found that piece to be compelling and interesting, because I bet that Boeing's got a pretty darn good 401k plan right now. And were I that worker, I'm not sure I would love the transition back to a pension.
Yeah, it's the other thing that I'm just thinking through this. If you are, here's the other thing as a worker at Boeing. There is also no backup plan. This is something that you have to consider. There's no other aerospace manufacturer that you can go to in the United States.
Right.
This is the only place you can work. I mean, sure, you could
bone up on your French.
You got suppliers, but it's still a different environment. Quick break here. Trivia answers next.
Bringing the latest financial news straight to your radio every day. It's the Financial Exchange on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
For 40 years, Cancer Support Community has been a relentless ally for anyone impacted by cancer, with free services provided online and in person, with their newest location in Massachusetts. Connect with Cancer Support Community Massachusetts for free emotional support, educational resources, patient navigation, financial counseling, and more. 617-797-3391. CancerSupportMass.org. CancerSupportMass.org.
We are the Debt Destroyer Network. Any debt you have, credit card, tax, student loan debt, call now for free information that helps you destroy your debt. It's great advice. Plus, when you make this free call now, we have Debt Destroyer experts ready to help. They can show you how to destroy your debt and get your life back on track. Debt problems don't have to be overwhelming. You can live stress-free and debt-free. Credit cards, medical bills, IRS tax problems, even student loan debt. Learn about free programs offered by the credit card companies, hospitals, and even the government that can help slash your debt. Call the Debt Destroyer now for free information. Call now. 800-430-8804. 800-430-8804. 800-430-8804. Again, that's 800-430-8804.
Let's talk LDL. AKA bad cholesterol. The higher your LDL cholesterol, the higher your risk of a heart attack or stroke. Your health matters. Know your number. Talk to your doctor and get your cholesterol checked. And learn how to help lower your LDL bad cholesterol. Because your health is in your hands. Find out more at heart.org/LDL.
Last year, we introduced you to Mark Vaughter, CEO of Veterans Development Corporation. Mark is a career military man, and we're proud to have him back as the presenting sponsor of the 2024 DAV 5K Boston.
I joined the Marine Corps when I was 18 and served proudly from 1981 to 1984. As CEO of Veterans Development Corporation, my goal is to give back to the veteran community, many of whom are employees of this company. This is one of the reasons I am so excited to be partnering with the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts on this year's DAV 5K Boston. The DAV works tirelessly to support many of our disabled veterans and provide them access to critical services that help them live comfortably every day. I hope to be part of many more success stories of our vets being able to achieve their goals and dreams when their service ends.
Veterans Development Corporation is proud to be the presenting sponsor of this year's DAV 5K, taking place on Saturday, November 9th at Fort Independence in South Boston. To register for this year's race, visit dav5k.boston.
This is Tucker Silva of the Financial Exchange Show, and I'm joined today by estate planning attorney Todd Lutzke from the law firm of Cushing & Dolan with your Financial Exchange quick tip of the day. And today, we're talking about your new guide, Todd, Demystifying the Top 7 Estate Planning Trusts. Now, do you lose control if you transfer your assets to an irrevocable trust in order to protect them from long-term care expenses?
Well, that's great when you mention that irrevocable trust, but limit it to the kind of trust where you're protecting it from the cost of long-term care, because as the guide says, there's 7 different kinds of trusts that we're trying to demystify, and there's also many kinds of irrevocable trusts out there, not just one type. So many people think there's just one type, but this particular type where you're trying to protect it from the cost of long-term care expenses, the answer is no. You do not lose control over your assets. There's a whole spectrum of control with irrevocable trusts, and this one you keep about 95% control. Like, you can live in your house, you can sell your house, you can buy another house, you can invest your money, you can manage your money, you can collect the income. Even the tax liability of these trusts are designed to be at your own rate. In other words, they are grantor trusts. You don't even pay any higher income taxes when you have this irrevocable trust. So this kind of trust, folks, you keep control and you protect your assets from the cost of long-term care.
Call right now for your free copy of Cushing & Dolan's comprehensive guide titled Demystifying the Top 7 Estate Planning Trusts. It will help you determine what type of trust is right for you and your family. Call 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or you can request it from LegalExchangeShow.com.
The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. Miss any of the show? Catch up at your convenience by visiting financialexchangeshow.com and clicking the on-demand icon, where you'll find all of our interviews and full shows. This is your home for the latest business and financial news in New England and around the country. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
All right, today's trivia question was how many licks to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop? Well, let's go to our reporter in the field.
Mr. Owl, how many licks does it take to get to the Tootsie Roll center of a Tootsie Pop?
Let's find out. 1, 2, 3.
Now, there you go. The answer is 3. And today's winner is Lori in New Durham, New Hampshire. She's taking home a Financial Exchange Show t-shirt, and she's also registered to win the $100 gift card to Applebee's. We'll be giving away the gift card on Friday's show. Trivia is brought to you by Applebee's. Enjoy half-price late-night appetizers after 9 p.m. and join Club Applebee's to enjoy exclusive deals and specials. You'll get a free appetizer just for signing up. Now, that's eating good in the neighborhood. Void where prohibited. Dine in only.
We're now joined on the phones by Todd Lutzke from the law firm of Cushing and Dolan. Mr. Lutzke, how are you today?
I am never better, and you?
We're doing well here. Todd, want to talk to you a little bit about different types of trusts that are out there. Can you give our listeners a brief breakdown, irrevocable versus revocable, and how they may differ?
Certainly, and the first thing we need to know is that there are more than one kind of irrevocable, whereas revocable is pretty basic, right? It's you're in complete control. You don't have to file a separate gift tax return. move money in and out, no problem at all. It avoids probate, shelters assets for estate taxes, and, of course, controls your assets for your family in the way that you want them to get it. So very straightforward. Whereas irrevocable trusts come in different flavors. So the Medicaid irrevocable trust, if you're concerned about nursing homes, also keeps you probably 95, 98% in control. You can just avoid the probate, protect it from the nursing home. You can also shelter it for estate taxes and provide, of course, distributions for your family the way you want them to go. You do got to file an extra tax return, but no extra tax because it flows onto your tax return. Whereas an irrevocable life insurance trust might require a little less control, but the assets are out of your estate for estate tax purposes. I know that's a lot, but I just wanted to give you a little taste.
Todd, if someone's considering, doing some kind of estate plan, creating one, what ages typically make sense for someone to do this, or is there not any particular age?
So I would say if you're young, married, and have kids, even if you don't have a ton of assets, because we all know when we're young we don't have a ton of assets, but we might have that house, we might have that 401k or whatever is in our bank. We know our children can't own the assets because they're minors. So we would want to consider doing the planning not only to take care of each other, but really to make sure that the kids are taken care of, even though there may not be a huge tax reason to do it. Of course, once you get older than that, then you're looking at doing it to avoid probate and taxes and bloodline planning, of course, but it comes into play. And then finally, 60 and up, you're probably thinking, well, is nursing homes an issue? Then you got to add that as a component and another reason to do planning on top of the fact that you have a family, have assets, want to avoid probate and reduce taxes. Folks, at the end of the day, there is a great deal of planning involved in your estate. There's many different kinds of trusts, but what we try to do in this guide, which is the end of the month, so it's the last chance to get it, folks, is to give you the top, what we believe to be 7 most used estate planning trusts. It will explain to you how they work from a tax standpoint and an operational standpoint. And if you've never done your planning, it maybe will get you started as figuring out which trust might be right for you. And if you've done your planning, maybe it's time to switch if you got older and get out of the trust you're in and get into a different trust. Call and get the guide at the end of the month, 866-848-5699 or legalexchangeshow.com. Again, folks, last chance, 866-848-5699, the top 7 estate planning trusts.
Mr. Lutsky, thank you for joining us today.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Summer is over, so it's time to take out your planner and book a spectacular vacation in the U.S. Virgin Islands. America's Caribbean paradise. St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John are 3 of the most incredible islands anywhere in the Caribbean, and their popularity is at an all-time high. Go to visitusvi.com and check out the American Caribbean, where you'll find all the information you'll need to book a trip that you'll never forget. If you act fast, you can still celebrate New Year's on St. Croix and enjoy the St. Croix Crucian Festival from December 26th to January 4th. Enjoy world-class cuisine, pristine beaches, a wide variety of water sports, and some of the greatest musical acts the islands have to offer. Travel to and from New England is simple, and your stay will be hassle-free because this is the American Caribbean. There's no passport needed and no money to exchange. Fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands on your trip to America's Caribbean paradise. Go to visitusvi.com and make your plans today. That's visitusvi.com.
Mike, you ever been to Covert Township, Michigan?
No. Well, maybe. I don't know. I don't think so.
You probably haven't.
Yeah.
I think you'd know if you did.
Really?
They have a big nuclear power plant there, the Palisades Nuclear Power Plant, or at least they used to have it there. Palisades just closed on a $1.5 billion loan to restart operations by the end of next year. This is the first nuclear power plant in the United States to restart operations if they're successful in doing so.
All the attention's been going to 3 Mile Island.
It has been. But look, part of, when we talk about nuclear development, we also do need to realize there are a handful of nuclear power plants throughout the United States that have been shut down in the last 20, 30, 40 years. And so you do have the ability to potentially look at some of these and say, hey, rather than building entirely new construction, what if we simply reauthorize and retrofit these to allow them to operate in the future, because you already have the facilities there that they've already been proven to work. Sure, you have to do some maintenance in order to get them up to speed, and there's a whole process. It's you don't just turn the key and fission.
Yeah,
but
not like that.
It's not. But
hence the $1.5 billion loan to restart these operations.
It could just be an expensive key.
Yeah, it could be. A few pieces about this that I find interesting and compelling. One, they only closed in 2022, and at the time that they closed, they referenced cheap nat gas prices as being one of the reasons they couldn't.
I'm pretty sure nat gas is cheaper now than it was in 22.
Yeah, so just looking at this, and I forget, how do they express it? Is dollars per British thermal unit?
Whatever.
I don't know how they express nat gas
I think it's
prices.
per million BTUs.
Yeah, at that point in time when they closed, which was around May of 2022, nat gas prices were in the high 7s, low 8s. In May of 2022. Today it's below $3. So what this all spells to me is higher demand for electricity and higher prices being paid for electricity, because you don't do this with nat gas prices where they are right now unless there is a compelling story on the demand side that says, we can sell this stuff for so much that it doesn't matter how cheap nat gas prices are. We're going to be able to sell this stuff on the market and make some money.
So, I do wonder if you start to see additional consideration given to plants that have been recently shut down. Again, it's
Pilgrim. When did Pilgrim go offline?
2019. They're further along in the decommissioning process, so I don't know if they're going to get there. But even look, you think about something like that, but it's something that clearly is being considered now. I mean, look, I haven't heard of any plans to restart reactors before the last month, and now you've got 2 that have said, we're going ahead with this.
Yeah.
So there's something kind of notable there that's happening. And again, is this going to happen everywhere? No, I have been unable to find a full list of all the U.S. nuclear reactors that have been shut down. So it's not like hundreds, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's a dozen or something like that. And maybe you start to see more noise on this front. Let's take a quick break here. When we come back, let's do a little bit of stack roulette.
Find daily interviews and full shows of the Financial Exchange on our YouTube page. Like us on YouTube and get caught up on anything and everything you might have missed. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network. The following is an important message from SAB Solutions Incorporated, your trusted advisor for companies needing inventory management. Visit them online at sabsolutionsma.com.
I'm Colleen Sullivan with SAB Solutions. Is your warehouse inventory inaccurate? If so, then SAB Solutions can help. We are experts in inventory management and warehouse operations systems, and with our data-driven solution, we can improve your company's efficiency while saving you time and money. We can streamline the management process, making it easy for you to identify slow-moving or obsolete items while maintaining your focus on customer satisfaction and stock levels. SAB Solutions provides real-time data on inventory levels using digital technology, and we've been a trusted advisor to numerous companies for over 15 years. SAB Solutions is your one-stop shop for all your warehouse management systems. For more information and a no-cost assessment, visit us online at sabsolutionsma.com. That's sabsolutionsma.com.
For 40 years, Cancer Support Community has been a relentless ally for anyone impacted by cancer, with free services provided online and in person, with their newest location in Massachusetts. Connect with Cancer Support Community Massachusetts for free emotional support, educational resources, patient navigation, financial counseling, and more. 617-797-3391. CancerSupportMass.org. CancerSupportMass.org.
It happens all over Massachusetts.
Can you tie my shoes?
In every home and every community.
Be careful on your bike.
Learning can happen anytime, anywhere.
no practice this weekend.
And no matter how learning takes place in your family's life, DESE is there as your partner. The Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Never stop learning. Find out more at mass.gov/back-to-school.
Sponsored by the Massachusetts Department for Elementary and Secondary Education.
Summer is coming to an end, so it's time to take out your planner and book a spectacular vacation in the U.S. Virgin Islands, America's Caribbean paradise. St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John are three of the most incredible islands anywhere in the Caribbean, and their popularity is at an all-time high. Go to visitusvi.com and check out the American Caribbean, where you'll find all the information you need to book a trip that you'll never forget. If you act fast, you can still celebrate New Year's on St. Croix and enjoy the St. Croix Crucian Festival from December 26th through January 4th. Enjoy world-class cuisine, pristine beaches, a wide variety of water sports, and some of the greatest musical acts the islands have to offer. Travel to and from New England is simple, and your stay will be hassle-free, because this is the American Caribbean. There's no passport needed and no money to exchange. Fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands on your trip to America's Caribbean paradise. Go to visitusvi.com and make your plans today. That's visitusvi.com. Every single day, more than 2,000 U.S. companies face a cyber threat or attack. The Boston Red Sox in Fenway Park chose Centripetal as their official cyber network security partner to ensure the protection of their network and ballpark. Intelligence is the answer to protecting your network, and Centripetal is the global leader of intelligence-powered cybersecurity. The choice is yours. Are you going to be another one of those attacked companies? Or are you ready to experience a radical new cybersecurity solution? Find out why the Red Sox chose Centripetal at www.centripetal.ai. Trusts are essential documents that can help protect your assets from the nursing home. Call Cushing & Dolan right now at 866-848-5699 and get their free guide called Demystifying the Top 7 Estate Planning Trusts. Let them help determine which is right for you. That's 866-848-5699 or request the guide online by visiting their website at legalexchangeshow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. The Financial Exchange streams live on YouTube. Like our page and stay up to date on breaking business news all morning long. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
The Financial Exchange is a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. This year's race is Saturday, November 9th at Fort Independence on Castle Island, and registration is now open. Help us support these great American heroes by visiting DAV5K.Boston and registering for this year's race. Your gifts will support a wide variety of initiatives like the DAV Transportation Program, which takes disabled vets to important medical appointments that supply both the physical and mental care they need. For more information or to make a donation, visit DAV5K.Boston. The DAV 5K Boston is presented by Veterans Development Corporation.
Mike, I want to talk a little bit about AT&T. They have announced that they are selling their 70% stake in DirecTV to a private equity firm by the name of TPG. And look, this is great. You know, they're finally getting out of this. They're going to get about $7.6 billion for this. And the only problem is that they bought 100% of DirecTV for $48.5 billion back in 2015, which means that 70% of it was like $35 billion. So they're only taking a $28 billion loss on this piece here, which is pretty...
It's not like a car.
No, you wouldn't...
Doesn't depreciate by that much when you drive it off the lot.
You wouldn't expect a company to depreciate, but that's exactly what happened here.
Yeah.
And... Again, this is exactly why AT&T is where they are today, is because they have been horrible allocators of capital over the last couple of decades. And it's good that this is finally done, and we'll see what their next bad purchase is.
In your mind, does AT&T kind of take the ranking on two of the worst mergers in modern history? I mean, between this and Time Warner.
Yeah, I mean, look, like these two mergers have effectively, they haven't killed the company because it's still alive, but they've rendered it a zombie that has no direction and have stripped it of a ton of capital. at a time where they could really use that capital to make an actual good acquisition or expand the business in a good fashion.
What are some of the other ones that are tossed out there as worst acquisitions of all time?
I mean, the AOL Time Warner is always there.
Yeah, AOL Time Warner.
I put the HP Autonomy one there. It's not the same scale because I think it was like $8.5 billion.
Right.
But they wrote it down by like 95% within a year and a half or 2 years.
Oh, Quaker Oats and Snapple is oftentimes looked at as one of the really bad ones. That was it was only $1.7 billion, but that was back in 94, and they basically spun it back off a few years later. Yeah, there's a lot of them, but AT&T has been at the center of a couple in a few years. I mean,
Sprint and Nextel, that was a $35 billion whoops.
Sprint and Nextel, Google and Motorola, they didn't do anything with that, although maybe they did in the cell phone space. We just don't. No, I don't know.
AT&T, like I don't think there's much competition. They are the worst shepherd of capital in the past 2 decades.
Yeah, like there might have been worse mergers, but few have eroded the company as much as.
I don't know if there have been many. Those 2 mergers. The problem was they were the same mistake and they made it twice.
Yeah.
Like it was the same thing over and over.
We're a utility company with all this cash. What should we do with it? Reward shareholders or go make acquisitions of businesses that we don't know how to run?
Hey, let's buy a content distribution service that is maybe not where the puck is going.
What the hell is the future of DirecTV, by the way? They don't have a Sunday ticket anymore.
Just drive around and look to see how many dishes you see on the side of people's houses or anything.
If the key goal, if one of the key goals of, I don't remember which department of the U.S. government, but whoever is in charge of delivering high-speed internet to the remaining Americans that don't have access to it, it's like a big push that has been going on for 5 years and is going to continue for another decade. Once that's through, give me one good reason why anybody needs a satellite dish.
There still are
TV.
like places and people who
agreed they will still exist, but it is a rapidly shrinking group that needs satellite-based television.
Someone still thinks there's $7.6 billion in value there.
Well, AT&T thought there was $50 billion worth of value there like 8 years ago, and they were sure wrong about it, so I'm not sure we should...
Maybe they just want to repurpose it for something else?
Yeah. So they will be, as part of this, by the way...
Like, what else could you use all those satellites for? Something fun.
Ramen? They will be merging this, it looks like, with Dish Network. But again...
2 wrongs don't make a right.
Yeah, like... you still have the same shrinking population here.
That was like when, who is it? Was it when Verizon bought Yahoo and AOL? Remember, Verizon bought like the it was Yahoo and someone else. They bought who was it? Hang on, give me just a second on this. So Verizon Media, Verizon bought AOL in 2015, like the remnants of it.
Yep.
And then Yahoo 2 years later, and remember they merged them into a company called Oath.
Oh, right.
That they said was going to like reshape digital.
Didn't.
It didn't, and they had to sell them off in 2021 to Apollo, who I'm not sure has done anything with it either.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, those ones are entertaining. The missed acquisitions are also pretty fun to reminisce on, like when Blockbuster turned down the Netflix acquisition, Apple turned down Tesla.
There are others where I'm trying to think of who else.
Yahoo turned down Google.
Yahoo turned down, or did they make a bid, or did they turn them down?
I can't remember.
Google went to them and said, for $1 million, you can and they said no.
Yeah, those ones are almost as entertaining.
The other ones that are fun to think about are the ones like, hey, what if they had turned this down? What would it look like? Think about if YouTube had turned down Google, as an example, and was just a separate company.
Gosh,
or imagine Instagram turns down Facebook, back when it was Facebook.
Waze turns down Google.
The Waze one is like a personal convenience thing, but imagine what the internet would be like if Google didn't have YouTube under it.
Pretty different.
It's a really different.
Yeah.
Like that's a globally different internet at that point. Like the Waze thing is like, okay, I would have liked to see some competition, but whatever. It's maps. The whole YouTube thing is so central to what Google is now.
It'd be a pretty different looking internet. Agreed.
Yeah.
I love fast food companies throwing shade at each other, and Wendy's did this over the weekend. They partnered with the developer of McBroken.com, which I had not heard of until today, but it tracks all of the ice cream machines that are out. And they have started
at
McDonald's. Sorry, yeah, all the McDonald's ice cream machines that are quote broken, and in many cases actually are broken. And they have started pulling up a truck that sells Frosties in front of the McDonald's, which I can't imagine they can easily get permits for, but nonetheless they are doing this, and I
they'll
think
pay the fine. They're Wendy's.
Yeah, they're just having a pretty fun time with saying, "Oh yeah, this is a funny thing that McDonald's is incredibly guilty of and everybody hates, and here's how we're going to advertise for ourselves at the same time."
I enjoy that quite a bit.
I like it. I like it.
I do. Taking a look at markets, the Dow's off 121, the S&P is down 1, the NASDAQ is up 6, so
exciting.
Not much movement today, pretty quiet. Start to get some data coming in tomorrow. We get ISM manufacturing, and we also get the JOLTS report, so we will see you tomorrow, and we'll have all that and more on the show.